Okay, here we are. Good morning, afternoon, and evening around the world. Um, we're really excited to be here today. We had a little bit of a hiatus. And as serendipitously as things often are, he and I both were on the same page of talking about you know, as he called it, labels, and then also just the programming or reprogramming. And it's the work I've been completely focused on recently and just really noticing how much we deal with these programs or the programming, how we were raised and how our spirit like took it in or didn't take it in. And then how for using the label word like you used, Pete, then how we've like let those labels kind of adhere to us, and just assumed and accepted that that was who we were. And there's this amazing possibility to actually, um, what I've been noticing is once I've noticed the programming in a certain way, I'm able to remove it and put it to the side so now I can see it. When before I didn't even know it was something to be seen, I just thought it was me. And those are the labels I think you're talking about. So I'm excited to dive into this, and people who are popping on live, thank you. We generally do a 30-minute session, and halfway through, we do about 5-10 minute guided meditation, usually about five. And that's an offering for you to learn how to do some self-guided meditation for yourself, to use that as a tool, or of course work with us or be inspired to work with other practitioners that you can go deeper. So that's what's up for today.
Uh,
So Pete, you were saying that you have been working with a lot of clients. You've been noticing the same sort of pattern, huh, coming up?
yeah, yeah, and like you said, like it's that programming we tell ourselves. So, I think I get mine. So there's a business strategist by the name of Keith Cunningham, and labels is the word he uses, and I say it resonates with me. But he goes, the label becomes your experience,
Mm.
and I thought like that was a very powerful way to word it because like I saw I used one client I'm working with where he moved into a new apartment, right? And the neighbors below him are like banging on his ceiling. They're putting like the vacuum on the ceiling at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And he's like, I'm trying to sleep at this time, right? And it's interesting because he's labeled them as a very particular type of people. I'm not going to say what he called them here, um, but he has a label on them, and it's interesting because like he treats them a certain way because of that label, right? And it made me really work with him and talking about it. I was like, you know, maybe have you even ever noticed that when you change the label, it changes our entire perspective,
Yeah.
you know? And once with him, like, I'm like you said, put that label on the shelf, right? What if you called them something else for now? Yeah. And he was like, okay. And I will say, like, he didn't pick a much better word, but it was just annoying. They're annoying neighbors now.
Right.
But even then, he's like, I'm going to go have a conversation with them. And I said, okay, just hold on to that annoying label, not the other label. And it was amazing how the next week he was like, my whole interaction changed.
Hmm.
You know, how he talked to them and how they responded was very different from any previous experience or interaction they've had with each other. And that was just one of those things where it's like, wow, like that label prevented that. You know, I say a couple other clients where they're trying to, I say, have a healthier life as far as giving up alcohol and stuff like that. But when they label themselves as, a person who has to struggle to make a change, you know, if you believe you have to struggle, it's almost impossible to go, well, this is going to be easy for me, you know. and we worked again, like putting that label to the side.
Well,
Of
it's
like,
so fascinating. I mean, I'm sorry to just pop in
yeah,
here, but when you were saying like, just him labeling these people in one way and the way he responded to them, and then, labeling him different and how it changed the way he responded to them. I, of course, was, just waiting for you to get to the point of like how we do that for ourselves, right? And like I had never really considered it in that way, but like you were just mentioning, it's like, if you um I can't remember exactly what you were saying, but basically where we how we see ourselves, right? And how we label ourselves, then we're going to act that way. Like, I think a lot of times we read books and we hear people say, well, if you want to change, just think differently, and it's like, yeah, that's real easy, like that's not just easy. But I feel like that's a kind of a hack, an idea of like to just kind of go, what if I labeled myself differently to my own self for 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day? Would I potentially act differently to myself? That's what I was thinking when you were saying that.
and I find that to be like very true
Yeah.
because, and I think it gets all, I say, including myself and all of us, like when we want to make a change, we typically go, it's all or nothing,
Mhm.
and who has ever said it's all or nothing, you know, and this is where I think you're like spot on is what if it's just an hour a day? Like, what if you chose an hour a day where you go, you know what? This is going to be my confident hour. Just everything
Yeah,
I do
that's
within this
cool.
hour. Yeah.
Instead of a happy hour, you could have like a confident hour or like a productive hour or not so
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah. And then maybe you get to go, you know what? At the end of the hour, you go, man, I'm exhausted. I'm glad I did it for that hour.
Right.
Maybe you go, wow, like I'm feeling really good. Maybe I can go another half hour, you know,
Yeah,
but
right.
but no one ever said it has to be all or nothing.
Yeah, totally. Well, but I
Yeah.
think we think that often. A lot of us kind of think that, if we say that it's this, that it is, even if you don't think, oh, well, it has to be all or nothing. I think the brain kind of does that. So it's like, what a relief that you actually, I mean, I feel like over and over when we talk about, like when we come on and talk about these things, so much is about small reminders of the actual huge impacts that we can have on ourselves and our lives and our conditions, even if we're in such a bad spot, a hurting spot, any of these things. Like there are little bits and pieces that we can co-create, in our lives, even if it's like you said, like just a 30-minute, like instead of a happy hour, it's a comfort hour, it's like, hey, I just want to like take it on and just go, like, maybe notice a label that you notice that you are. I'm sick, I'm sad, I'm hurt, I'm poor. Um, and just imagine like, I feel like, don't you think that like saying label, like if you were to change it into something that were the opposite, you want to do something that feels not completely fake to you. So like I always notice, like, if you just do something grandiose, you're not gonna believe it, but you can start playing with the wording that would feel accurate enough. Like, or for
Ye-
example, I feel I'm sick, and it's like, well, what would happen if I had enough energy to do something, even though I feel this sick? Like, it doesn't have to be a one word label, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then,
And it could be like you're right, because you can't be like, oh, like I call myself sick all the time.
yeah,
Two, I'm healthy.
yeah, right. Like
Like
that's probably
that's
a huge jump.
huge jump, right? Because especially let's say there are physical things going on, right? What we can do is go, I'm going to start being healthier,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, and you're moving that needle and that, well, okay, so what can I do to be healthier? Maybe it's going outside for that half hour, right? That half hour of me time. Maybe it's, you know what? Instead of drinking 2 liters of soda a day, for a half hour, I'll make sure I only drink water, or I'll do a liter a day of soda and a liter of water.
Right.
Something, right? And then you go, well, how do I feel? Right? Not after a day, but you do that for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You go, how do I feel? And you go, no, I've been feeling better because I
Right.
am getting
So, for
healthy.
example, like you're sick every day, and then in your healthier hour, you go outside, you stretch a little bit, you have some water, and then you go back after your hour to being, miserably sick just as you were. Then, and then just you'll already feel and notice a difference. And like that would be an explanation to like that would be kind of like a definition of reprogramming, right? Of self reprogramming.
Right. Because the way I kind of look at it is if we look at like Swiss cheese, right, it has a whole bunch of holes in it. And when we're reprogramming, it's as if we're beginning to fill in those holes to eventually it's a different type of cheese,
Right.
but you can't just always just swap it out, and we got to be, I always say it's like our best friends to ourselves, right? We got to be that kind and patient and understanding, even forgiving for when we go, man, like this has been a tough hour for myself, versus being like, well, I can't even do an hour of like, being outside. It's, what? Versus being not going outside. You know what? I made up 40 minutes today. You know what? Like, I'm proud of that. You know what? Tomorrow I'm going to do it again.
Right. Well, I was even thinking like just within the hour, like say, for example, you're like living a sick life, and then just within the hour, even if you went out for 5 minutes, like that's just your window of like,
Yeah.
or if you're always drinking soda, like within that hour, you're going to just drink some water. Right.
Yeah.
Just to just go in this window, dot.
Yeah. Right. And that's how we bring in, I say, those positive labels that we want. It's how we begin to redefine our programming to no longer be like, whether we look at an absolute, right? Because it's one thing to go, I get sick. It's another thing to say, I am sick, and when we can remove that absolute of I am this to sometimes I'm this, sometimes I'm not, it changes the entire programming.
Or I have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I can, right? Oh, I can do these healthy things. It's like, yeah, it brings in this, fresh air that helps us again, like begin to, whether it's break down the old belief, the old pattern, and slowly but consistently introduce the new healthy one. We do it enough times, the new healthy one takes over.
Totally. And I have to say that when I was trying to do some new reprogramming years and years ago, I had to put about like 3 caveats in between the wording in order to even believe it. So I had to say, I'm willing to believe that there's a chance, that there's a possibility that the thing, because I just couldn't say like, I'm willing to believe, or I believe, or I am, this thing that just felt too far away. So I had to really get into the willingness to believe and the possibility that it could be so. And then slowly that kind of, but it really took a while. And I just like, for people who are listening and curious about this, I just want, if you're thinking about like who you say you are, and if there's any of those things that you say that are hurtful to yourself, or maybe something you'd like to change, start to think of what the opposites of that are. And if that's too big of a jump, ask yourself if you're willing to be open to the possibility, and then just find the way that's true enough. And I think that's like the easiest way in to this development. What do you think about that?
100%, right? Because this is where I say our language is so important.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us take for granted the power of our words.
Yeah.
We treat them as if they're just words. but they mean a lot of how our mind and our body react to what's going on, you know. And so when we can really, like you said, like understand the importance of our words, where going from like sick to healthy might seem impossible, but if you go, you know what, I'm willing to even look at the possibilities that I could be healthy, it's just enough where it gets to go, oh, yeah, so that there are things, little things, right? And we stick with it, and then it grows and grows and grows before it's like, well, I'm not going to look for the possibilities. Like, no, it is possible. I see the possibilities, and then it grows into, well, I see these opportunities now where I get to do these little things differently. Next thing you know, you're healthy and you're where you want to be.
Yeah.
And when you look back, then you can go, oh, man, why didn't I believe myself in the beginning? Right. But the truth is, like, no one can just go from one end to the other end. They need that swing of the pendulum to bring them over.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's our words.
That is our words.
Yeah.
Well, let's move into our guided meditation in a moment. I just wanted to kind of wrap up what you're saying too. I think that, it's so interesting because things are just words. Unless someone calls us something bad, then you can see how powerful words are. And so I think it's really interesting for us to, especially, if we're trying to grow, we're trying to heal, to recognize how it's so different what we say to ourselves than what's said to us and what we would say to others. So if my words are impactful to someone else and their words are impactful to me, then wouldn't it make sense that the words and the thoughts that I have for my own self are also deeply impactful? And of course, it's challenging to see inward and see yourself more than outside world. I think that's just typical by our design. But I think it puts us to the sideline a lot. It makes often people treat themselves as less important in these certain ways. And I think that's kind of the value, is to learn ways. I mean, people say value yourself, and that could, I think, seem kind of, I don't know, fluffy, but truly, like in that kind of example that I gave as far as words.
Yeah. As a society, we spend billions of dollars a year on words. How they can manipulate, how they can persuade, how they can tear us down, how they can build us up, right? Billions of dollars a year are spent on this. If words were just words, we wouldn't spend any time or money on it, Right. But we know that words can cut people down in an instant. We know that if we do something or say something that isn't, let's say, truthful, it could damage a relationship permanently. Right. That's how strong words are. But at the same time, they can be used to really build up, to create, to embody like this new belief in ourselves and others. And so, taking words at face value only hurts us. But we understand, like, even things as simple as like, oh, it'll take me, 20 years to do something. You don't know it could take 20 years, right? That is a label you're putting on something where you get to go, well, I don't know how long it's going to take. Let me find out, by doing it.
Well, just like you taught me over and over again, is like, I don't know is something that is such a cutting phrase. But then you taught me, actually, like, that I don't know is a great place to be, because that means that you get to explore what could be. And I love that twist on things. And it's true. And I've used it with some clients, and every time they go, oh, it does take it from like, I'm at a wall, to like the wall opens to the landscape of like, now I have to look. And so I think that's really great. Well, I think this is something we could continue on in future sessions because it's powerful. The programming that we created, that created us, is what created all of us, and that's why we all are here where we are, in the whole world. So it's a broad topic. So thank you for folks that are listening and commenting. And we are going to go into the guided meditation part. And like I said earlier, these are really short guided meditations that Pete gives that are also little gifts for you to put in your own toolkit to go deeper with your own self with some of these visualization techniques and so forth. So that's what we're going to move into. You ready, Pete?
I'm ready.
Right.
Everyone get nice and comfy. Take that nice deep breath in. When you exhale, just close your eyes. And just take a moment. Take a moment to feel just a rise and fall of every breath. See if you can tune into your ability to hear the inhales, the exhales. Maybe you can tune into feeling the cool air when you breathe in and the warmth when it leaves your body. Because as you begin to notice, to imagine, to see, you're going to find your life will change forever. And what I want you to do is just allow yourself just to completely relax. Maybe even begin to imagine as if you're on a white sandy beach, the turquoise water, the blue skies. You can feel the sun hitting your skin. You can hear the waves off in the distance, the warm wind as it crosses your face. You can feel how soft the sand is underneath your toes, the warmth of the sun. And I want you to see yourself walking on this beach, looking around, seeing the trees, the wind whistling through the leaves, finding yourself feeling relaxed and at peace, feeling lighter and heavier all at the same time. See, with every step you go down on this beach, as you look around, the water gets calmer, the sand gets softer and softer. And you get to look in the distance and you see there's a little kid. And as you get closer, you start to make out their face and you notice they look very familiar. See, as you walk up to them, you notice, you realize, you see they have tears in their eyes. And so you ask them, why are you crying? Oh, and they tell you all the labels, all the programming, all the pain and hurt they have experienced in their life. And all I want you to do is just tell them how much you love them, how much they mean to you, how special they are. See, I want you to tell them everything they need to hear to begin to let go of those labels, those moments in time that they have hung on to. See, I want you to give them that hug that they needed in that moment, to let them feel the love. Because as you do that, you realize that they start to grow up in your very arms. And before you know it, as you let go of them, you're staring at the very best version of you. Those labels have magically transformed into something different. So you get to look in their eyes and you see how much love they have for themselves, how much abundance and how much power and freedom and peace. See, they have everything. They're healthy, they're fit. And I want you just to take a deep breath, and I want you to merge with this person, to feel the confidence, the love, the power, the energy of this person. To notice how the label becomes the experience. And these labels have changed forever, which changes our perception, your ability to see yourself, the world, how you feel, the thoughts that enter your mind, the actions we take. And so, what I want you to do is take all the time you need to really interact, to wipe away all the tears, to listen, to heal, to give that love, to watch that little child grow in your arms, to be the very best version. So you take all the time you need to blend, to bring in the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, that version of you so close into your heart where it radiates through every part of your being. And only when you know it's done, open your eyes and come on back. Welcome back.
Thanks. Cool. What a great one. That was a super great one. I love that one.
Yeah. Change it up a little bit.
I love that. So we have a comment that says, this is from Lisa. This made me think about not just the words we use, but the intention in our heart as we speak to ourselves, and really using words of possibility with compassion, with a sense of love and wanting the best for ourselves. Thank you. Yeah, right on.
Very true. Words and intentions, two most powerful things.
Absolutely. And Laura had commented as well that she loves that concept of the possibility of I don't know, and how that, that we talked about. And absolutely, it's a really, and just to kind of tie the two comments together, it's like, I think often I don't know often is kind of like a closing statement. It might even, kind of feel like, well, I don't know, and you might get like that. And like, what a cool thing to use these tools that we're talking about today to just be like, I don't know. I'm going to go look for it lovingly, and with this good intention as, and these words of possibility and compassion with a sense of love. Like, imagine saying, I don't know with those words, with that feeling, with that label, with that idea of that programming. Imagine, like, I don't know being an activating, explorative invitation.
Right? Versus being a defeating invitation.
Right? Just being defeated. And so, yeah. Well, I'm really glad that we did this today. And again, thank you everyone who's listening always. If you have questions, reach out to us. If you want, us to talk about something in particular, we love that. Otherwise, we'll just keep going with inspirations. I would love to continue to talk more about the programming. And, I think that there's also maybe some other terms for programming, because I like to avoid talking about us in the same terminology that we do as like computers and like, when possible. Can you think of other terms besides like the programming that we received?
Yeah, I can say experiences. I use that term a lot instead of programming. Self-defining moments. They're just, I say, bigger phrases.
Yeah, totally.
But then the other one for me is label.
Yeah.
The label we put on ourselves.
Well, I think also I guess it's the labels we put on ourselves from the experiences that we've had. But I would say I've experienced being labeled as well. But someone that I spoke with who's also a practitioner the other day, she was talking about, I think she said something along the lines of I can't remember the terminology, but it's basically like when there are certain people that go through something and they take it on as theirs. And there's other people who go through something similar and they don't take it on as theirs. So there's also a really interesting like characteristic and aspect of us as humans for all the various reasons that something will happen to them and they go, that makes me bad, that makes me this. And there's other people who just they don't, it happened and they really didn't take it on and in. And I thought that was a really fascinating, thing to differentiate and consider, because if other people do that naturally based off the way they were raised or their spirit or what have you, that means that we can also do that too. Everything that happens to us doesn't need to be taken in. There are human beings that have do that. It's not because they've gone like they're lying to themselves. There seems to be a true ability to let something happen and not think it's a reflection of you, not take it in, not let it in. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, it's one where I forget where I read it, but they talked about the difference between emotions and then triggered emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And how emotions we're very much in control of. And triggered emotions are emotions that when something happens, we just act,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like that. Like the people who take things on, something about that event, lack of a better word, triggered that emotional state in them,
Mm-hmm.
Where other people can go through it and they get to go, no, that's not going to trigger me in a way like that it just instantly happens. They may take that step back, they may process it and go, I'm glad I didn't react that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know sometimes until after, but when we can begin to recognize it, that's when we take control of our emotions as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll have to dive into it more deeply. So again, thank you everyone. And Pete, you have any last words? We always love your last words.
Yeah, you know what? Take what we went over today and see where you can begin to apply them in your life, right? Both, whether it's good programming, good labels, bad programming, bad labels, right? See which ones you can really identify in your life and go like, do I like this? And if it's no, what can you do to begin to alter that label? Not 100% change it from one end to the other, but what can we introduce to open that door to begin to peel back that old label?
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, well, anyone who's takes on that challenge, let us know how it goes, because there's so many surprises behind these amazingly small, sort of huge endeavors that we get to, co-create and co-check out sort of in our world. So, all right, until next time, take care, everyone, and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ciao.